The Green Revolution in the 60s was the technological response to a worldwide food shortage. India gained food self-sufficiency within a decade to become one of the world's biggest agricultural producers. The flip side of Green Revolution was the rampant use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, and unrestrained drilling of bore wells, resulting in loss of soil fertility, land degradation, salinization of irrigated areas, over-extraction of groundwater, the buildup of pest resistance, and the erosion of biodiversity. Among all the adverse effects, the worst is the depletion of groundwater table or DGWT. Groundwater is the largest source of fresh water in the world and is a critical resource in a country like India, where 30% of the agriculture and 85% of drinking water supply comes from bore wells, that is alarmingly depleting the overstressed groundwater table.
We are seeing depletion of groundwater resources in almost all parts of the world. The groundwater level has gone down deep beneath the ground. So, today many of the large rivers have become dry because of the depletion of groundwater resources, and the perennial rivers have become intermittent rivers due to the depletion of water resources.
Chamarajanagar is the southernmost district in the state of Karnataka. It has a population of over 10 lakhs and cultivable land of 45,000 hectares. 5 decades ago, Chamarajanagar was a burgeoning green belt and an agricultural hotspot. Today, it is fast becoming one of the driest districts in the state of Karnataka. There is acute drinking water shortage. People are struggling to collect drinking water from far-off places. Trees and plants are in dire strait. Coconut plantations in hundreds are dried up. The barren trunks of the coconut trees are ubiquitously signaling the gloomy days ahead. Mango groves are tattering, giving a desolate look, and meadows are drying fast by the passing days.
ಜಿ ಮಾದೇವಪ್ಪ ಇಂಗಲವಾಡಿ ಒಳಗೆ ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಲೂಕಿನಲ್ಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲಾನೆ 800 ಅಡಿ 900 ವರ್ಷ ನೀರು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದನಕ್ಕೆ ಹುಲ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಜನಗಳಿಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ದನನೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಮಾರ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಮೇವಿಲ್ಲ ದನಗಳಿಗೆ.
Dodda Hinduvadi is a small village to the north of Chamarajanagar. In 1964, there were just 3 wells in the entire village to cater to a small population of 2,000. Within a span of 50 years, the population increased to 7,000, and to meet its agricultural needs, a staggering 300 bore wells came up in the village vicinity, and surprisingly, majority of them have gone dry. Dodda Hinduvadi village has not faced any major climatic change in the last 50 years, and the rainfall too was normal. However, a look at the water table of the village says the obvious story. In the year 1964, the water table was a mere 10 feet down below. In 1984, it went down to 35 feet. In 1988, it further went down to 80 feet. In the year 2010, it reached a depth of more than 150 feet. In 2012, shockingly, there is no water even beyond 500 feet. It is a classic example of our agricultural industry that has promoted itself from need-based to a greed-based industry. A decade ago, Dodda Hinduvadi was a hustling and bustling village. Today, half the village gives a deserted look. Locked houses are increasing by the day. Farmers are migrating to towns for meeting their basic requirements like food and water. Their very survival is at stake. Similar situation is seen in most of the villages in the district of Chamrajnagar. Railway stations are crowded with farmers who are migrating to bigger cities in search of a job. Many farmers are working as manual laborers in building construction and are traveling by train every day from their village to the nearby cities.
ನಮ್ಮದು ಒಂದು 150 ಎಕರೆ ಜಮೀನಿದ್ದು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 49 ಬೋರ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ಗಳು ಕೊರೆಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಓಪನ್ ವೆಲ್ಗಳು ಒಂದು 4-5 ಇದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ತೊಟ್ಟು ಕೂಡ ಈಗ ಓಪನ್ ವೆಲ್ಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ, ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಸರಿ ಪಂಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಡ್ರಮ್ ನೀರು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಒಂದು 300 ಕಲ್ಲಾಡಷ್ಟು ದನನೂ ಕೂಡ ಇತ್ತು, ಅದರೆಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲ ಖಾಲಿ ಆದವು. ಈಗ ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಚಿಕ್ಕಪ್ಪದಿರ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ಇನ್ನೂ ನೀರು ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಕ್ಕಪಕ್ಕ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ದು ಅದರೆಲ್ಲ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಆಗಿ ಈಗ ಕುಡಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರು ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮೇವು ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮಾರಾಟ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ನು ಹೊಲಸು ಹೋಗಬೇಕಾದ್ದೆ.
There are two typical situations which will be happening due to depletion of water resources, especially groundwater resources. One is drought, another one is desertification. These are the two major effects expected due to groundwater depletion. All areas on the surface of the earth will become dry if the water level goes down. If the water level is at shallow depth, it can help the survival of all the plants and also the development of natural vegetation. The depletion of groundwater will also lead to the drying up of ponds, swamps and many small lakes and sometimes the reservoirs. Many of the rural masses, village people are surviving with the water available in their village ponds. Many villages will have no water to feed their cattle and to do their washing and other activities if there is no water in the ponds, and if the waters of ponds are dried up due to depletion of the groundwater, which is the feeding source.
According to a recent estimate, the world has pumped out 4,500 cubic kilometers of water from different aquifers between 1900 and 2008. Almost 30% of that volume was extracted between 2000 and 2008 alone. The nature and extent of depletion varies from region to region. The depletion has been fastest in some of the world's major agricultural centers such as India, China and the United States. Groundwater is not infinitely renewable. when it is pumped out of the ground faster than it is replenished, it is said that users are living on borrowed time. Most groundwater is found in subterranean fossil reservoirs called aquifers. And because the rate to recharge aquifers is slow, they are not considered renewable. When aquifers are pumped faster than they can be recharged, a situation called overdraft is created. They are useless as reliable water sources. A good example of aquifer overdraft is the Ogallala Aquifer, Earth's largest aquifer. The Ogallala Aquifer is located beneath the Great Plains in the United States. In some places, the Ogallala Aquifer is dropping more than 6 feet a year. Certain parts of the huge aquifer are almost empty. These areas will take over 100,000 years to replenish naturally through rainfall.
Not only this aquifer, there are so many aquifers, largest aquifers in the world, they are also facing the same situation. If you take India, we have the biggest aquifer belonging to Indo-Gangetic Plains. In Indo-Gangetic Plains, in several parts you might have seen near Patna, Lucknow and many other places like Gaya, water will be flowing only in few days of the year. Most of the months of the year, there is no flow of water in some of these rivers. That itself shows that the groundwater has already depleted in these river basins. The aquifer depletion can be easily noticed in the shortage of flow of these perennial rivers. One analysis shows that almost 150 districts in India are black districts in the concept of water resources, because groundwater has already depleted in these districts.
It is predicted the bore wells will soon go dry, increasing the dependency on rain and surface water or desert-like situation without normal rainfall. The 3 R of groundwater: recharge, retention, and reuse has become all the more significant today. Many states in the US are creating local rainwater storage facilities called water banks to mitigate the irreparable situation. In India, the ubiquitous climatic conditions with a range of man-made pressures has driven farmers, households, and industry to increasingly depend on groundwater rather than surface water in rivers and lakes. As a result, the falling water tables might induce leakage from contaminated external source such as saline water in coastal areas or surface water polluted by sewage, agricultural fertilizers, and industry. It might take an epidemic proportion within 20 years, as it is the source of drinking water for over 80% of rural population. In addition, the effects on the landscape and the people are drastic. Cones of depression can be formed if too much water is drawn out of a water table without giving time to replenish. A cone of depression is where the water table sinks in an area that has been heavily pumped, creating a large area that has sunken. Sinkholes may also form when an underground cavern or channel collapses and creates a crater in the Earth's surface. In India, water security is widely recognized as one of the major challenges to our economic, food security, and social development. But concrete steps are yet to be taken. Groundwater development should be coupled with management of rainwater and surface water. The existing traditional water resources like wells, ponds, and streams should be rejuvenated, protected, and conserved. Rainwater harvesting and artificial recharge schemes should be taken up on a massive scale. There is also a need for creation of awareness among the public on judicious use of groundwater resources and for capacity building of stakeholders at the grassroots level on various aspects of groundwater conservation and augmentation.
In order to combat the groundwater depletion situation, we need to have water recharge cooperative societies instead of water user cooperative societies. Because it is becoming a commercial commodity, it is necessary that we have to rejuvenate the groundwater resources regularly. For every problem, there are plenty of solutions. In this case, for depleting groundwater resources, the recharge possibilities are to be created. We need to create a lot of natural and artificial recharge sites and structures. In every place we need artificial recharge structure. We also have to harvest the rainwater which is flowing over the land towards the rivers and ultimately reaching the seas and oceans. Harvesting of rainwater is a good alternative for many of the places. We should formulate national water grid. We should link all the perennial rivers to utilize that water in the unproductive land where there is no water resources.
ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರಿನಿಂದಾಗುವ ದುಷ್ಪರಿಣಾಮಗಳನ್ನು ಮುಂದೂಡಬೇಕಿದ್ದರೆ ನಾವು ಈಗ ಕೃಷಿ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸುತ್ತಿರುವ ಭಾರವಾದ ಯಂತ್ರಗಳು, ರಾಸಾಯನಿಕ ಗೊಬ್ಬರಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಕೀಟನಾಶಕಗಳು ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ನೀರನ್ನು ಕೇಳುವ ಏಕವಾರ್ಷಿಕ ಮತ್ತು ಬಹುವಾರ್ಷಿಕ ಬೆಳೆಗಳನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ಆಹಾರವಾಗಿ ಬಳಸುವುದನ್ನು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ನೀರನ್ನು ಕೇಳುವ ಏಕವಾರ್ಷಿಕ ಮತ್ತು ಬಹುವಾರ್ಷಿಕಗಳನ್ನು ಬೆಳೆಯುವುದು ಮತ್ತು ಅವುಗಳನ್ನು ಆಹಾರವಾಗಿ ಬಳಸುವುದು ಅತಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇಂದಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ತಾತ್ಕಾಲಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿ ಬೀಳುವ ಮಳೆ ನೀರು ಸಮುದ್ರವನ್ನು ಸೇರದಂತೆ ಭೂಮಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಗಿಸುವುದು, ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ, ಅರಣ್ಯೀಕರಣ, ಬಂಜರು ಭೂಮಿಗಳನ್ನು ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಪಡಿಸಿ ಮಣ್ಣಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ತೇವಾಂಶ ವಾತಾವರಣವನ್ನು ಸೇರದಂತೆ ನೋಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವುದು, ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅತಿ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚುತ್ತಿರುವ ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಗರೀಕರಣದ ನಿಯಂತ್ರಣ.
Dr. Norman Borlaug, the only agronomist ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize and father of Green Revolution, has saved more lives from starvation than anyone who has ever lived. He had foreseen grave and diverse effect on ecology and environment if the natural resources were not used judiciously. His successor, Hans Achim Braun, has warned on the impact of excessive use of groundwater by farmers and its adverse effect on world economics and ecology. To conclude, the economics of food security cannot be seen in isolation. It goes hand in hand with the protection and preservation of ecology. Ecology can survive without economics, but economics cannot survive without ecology. Hope the policymakers understand this simple fact before it is too late.